Bears. Welcome to another installment of Holy Schmidt, a web series about all things religious and theological. I, of course, am your fearless leader and host, Dr. Schmidt. A lot of people want to know about things like sin and confession and all of these things surrounding what we've done wrong. And I think it's because this is the thing that people remember from when they were kids. If you have any sort of religious training, you usually learn pretty early the rules, right? What you should and should not do. And the thing that sticks with you is the stuff that's scary. This is kind of the standard way that we talk to children about religion, unfortunately. This makes sense given that this is kind of how we deal with children anyway, but it makes me really sad that we never really get beyond this idea of what you should and shouldn't do and then sort of rewards and punishments. So at this point you might be thinking, hey Schmidt, if sin isn't about what I should and shouldn't do, then what is it about? I want to humbly submit to you that sin is not about breaking a rule. But in its essence, it's not about a rule, it's about a relationship. It's about a broken relationship, always with God, often with other people. This social dimension of sin is something that people often forget to mention to children. Most of the time we imagine God with a clipboard, checking yes or checking no, and then doling out rewards and punishments. Sometimes I call this picture of God the ATM. Whatever I put in is what I get out. I put good in, I get a reward out. I put bad in, I get a punishment out. And it's no wonder that people don't want to believe in a God like this. Not only do we have to have a different picture of how God is, we also need to have a different anthropology.
Anthropology?
Just a fancy way of saying view of the human person, how you understand the human being. In Christian anthropology, in the Christian view of the human person, the person is designed to be in perfect love and communion with God. The person was made to be in perfect relationship with God and with other people. Sin is simply the brokenness of this relationship. It's any time we do anything to rupture that relationship. The big story from the Bible that people think about when they think about sin, of course, is Genesis. Now, I know you don't really want to think about Genesis, you don't want to talk about Genesis, mostly because it's gotten tied up in all sorts of battles over science and religion, and we'll get to that in a different day. Genesis is helpful for seeing both the vertical and horizontal dimensions of sin. What I mean by this is that if sin is just brokenness of a relationship, you break both the relationship with God and with other people. There's hardly any sin you can think of that doesn't have a social dimension. When we think about Genesis then, and I'm talking here only about Genesis 3, the interesting thing about the story for me is not so much that they broke a rule, but that when they broke the rule, when they fall out of relationship with God, the first thing that they do is blame one another and then blame the world around them. This story is really about the broken relationship between human beings and between human beings and creation. It seems self-evident to me about the world that people are in broken relationships not only with one another, but also with creation. In Christian anthropology, this means that their relationship with God is also broken. You cannot have one without the other. You cannot have the horizontal dimension without the vertical, and you cannot have the vertical dimension without the horizontal. When I say that it's about a broken relationship, I'm not necessarily talking about breaking a rule. I'm talking about anything we do that falls short of what we're supposed to be. And if you remember, what we're supposed to be is in perfect love, perfect communion with our Creator, with God, and with other people. That horizontal dimension is often something that people miss. If we think about this in terms of relationship, we know from our own personal experiences that sometimes friendships, sometimes romantic relationships, sometimes work relationships of all kinds get broken. I don't know about you, but when I think about the relationships in my life that I've broken, or relationships I see around me that are broken, I don't think about it in terms of rules that got broken. I think about it in a much more complex way. So there you have it, the super fun topic of sin. Thanks for watching.